Everybody hates marketers. Well, not everybody, but if you look at Gallup survey from 2020, Americans rate advertising practitioners as only slightly more trustworthy than car salespeople. Come on, that hurts so much. It's because people believe marketers are willing to bend the truth and manipulate people by things that they actually don't want. Modern buyers are skeptical of advertising and marketing more than ever.
If we don't acknowledge the incredible amount of skepticism and doubt that we're up against, then chances are we're not going to be able to overcome it because we can't even acknowledge it's there. So, while court may seem like a super serious environment, I figured most of us can relate to, from like court shows or crime dramas we've seen, just the idea that, in a courtroom environment, there's the jury and they don't know what to think. And they're waiting on people to present them a case that helps them decide who to trust.
I love this analogy because as marketers, we like to think of ourselves as building a relationship, but in some sense it is. But early on with buyers who are more skeptical of anything that feels way too marketing-y, we have to earn trust. In this Marketing Powerups episode, you learn first, the 5 types of claims that brands make. Second, the 3 types of evidence to provide compelling evidence for those claims. Third, a brand that's doing a good job of using evidence to prove their claims. And fourth, 1 power-up that helps Melanie accelerate her career. Before we start, I've created a free Powerups cheat sheet that you can download, fill in, and apply Melanie's 3 types of evidence to convince your buyers to trust and purchase from you. You can go to marketingpowerups.com right now to get it, or find that link in the description and show notes. Are you ready? Let's go.
Marketing Powerups. Ready? Go! Here's your host, Ramley John.
Well, let's chat about Marketing Powerups, specifically your book, Prove It. I know that you put this together, and one of the central, piece to it is around how you say the stats from marketing charts that 3/4 of people they have a huge distrust for companies, and you brought up this analogy of we have to, as marketers, you have to bring evidence to people now, and this whole analogy you say is much better than the whole analogy of building a dating or building a friendship or relationship, because people have this wall. Can you share why it's that analogy of the courtroom and bringing evidence and proof is so more important nowadays?
So I think what I realized is, we talk about relationship building, and generally speaking, most of the relationships that we make analogies to, dating a partner or, the new connection, a new friend, it's about people who are equally interested in building that relationship, right? Like you're both invested. And I think what we kind of have to realize is that the market has really shifted and people are so skeptical. There's so many folks who are trying to rip them off, steal their data, scam them in some kind of way. We see that in our spam folder of email, in our text inbox, like it's everywhere. So they're not as excited to build a relationship with us as we are with them. And that's sad to think about. But I think acknowledging that reality of what we're up against, that we're up against this skepticism and doubt and fear, that really shifts the mindset toward, okay, how do I earn that? It's not just about building a relationship. I have to earn the right to build that relationship. I have to earn that trust. It kind of shifts the mindset. And I think that is a more realistic approach, because if we don't acknowledge the incredible amount of skepticism and doubt that we're up against, then chances are we're not going to be able to overcome it because we can't even acknowledge it's there. So, while court may seem like a super serious environment, I figured most of us can relate to, generally speaking, from like court shows or, crime dramas we've seen, just the idea that, in a courtroom environment, there's the jury. And they don't know what to think. And they're waiting on people to present them a case that helps them decide who to trust. So to me, that felt like that's something we could relate to. If we think of ourselves like this is a skeptical jury that we have to win over, we have to present our case, we're worthy of trusting, we are bringing the truth to you, that kind of makes us a little more mission oriented. Like we know what we're trying to accomplish.
I really like that, whenever somebody brings up how marketing is like dating or marketing is like being friends, I kind of get weirded out because it's not, my wife is my wife. Like I treat it differently than I treat Apple or the software tools I use. And you're right. Like I think people are more, especially with more and more tools and startups and things like that out there. People are really more like, what is it in it for me essentially? And how can you prove that right away within a short period of time.
100%. And I think, I've talked to some folks who are like, well, I don't really, I don't like to think about that. That's like upsetting to think that our audience doesn't like us, doesn't trust us, that they're skeptical. But I think it's honestly, it's the reality. Like it's better to face it and do something about it. And, too often with marketing, it's really easy for us to just assume that everyone, like we said, cares about what we're saying, cares about what we're doing. But, when we are in the consumer seat, like when we step away from our desk or outside of the office and we're the consumer, we're skeptical too. It's, it makes sense. It's the logical choice as a consumer to be skeptical and to try to be discerning about who you share your data with and who you do business with. So we can't really hold it against them. It's the natural way of operating in the environment that we're all living in.
It totally makes sense. And I think that's a whole central piece to your book. I have it right here. I just read it. And for people who are tuning in, definitely go check it out. It's at peoplewhoproveit.com. But you share 5 claim types that brands have to go through to really have evidence for. Can you share those? What are those 5 claim types that the brands might have?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's 5 different claim types. And, I always say, I don't pretend that this is the only system to think about this kind of information. So there are certainly probably other claim types that exist out there. But generally speaking, when I'm working with clients, most of the claims that a business makes fall into these 5 categories. So hopefully it'll be helpful for you for identifying the claims that you need to prove. So the first one is convenience. A lot of claims, particularly like in the direct B2C space, are about convenience. And that's things like how affordable it is, how easy your product is to use, how fast you can deliver, how easy it is to set up, right? Anything where you're selling like, this is an easy experience. It's not painful to work with us in some way, right? So those are convenience claims where you're making it that it's easy, it's simple, it's fast, things like that. Comparability or comparability claims are the ones that are really pitting you up against some other solution. So this is that we are, we're better, we are more durable, it's higher quality. It's sort of whether you're naming a specific competitor or not, just saying, compared to doing nothing or compared to other options, here's how we fare. So those kind of claims you want to back up too, of course, like says who says that you're, higher quality
True.
or more durable, like show me. The next category is commitment. So this is, a lot of times it's commitment to your consumers, which I think we all kind of make in some general sense. We're all saying like, we're committed to delivering results and making you a happy customer. But more often it's like a commitment to a value of some kind. So that would be, commitment to sustainability or equal pay or any number of, causes or values that are important to you as a company. So those kind of things fall under commitment. The next one is kind of similar, connection claims. So whereas commitment is sort of one directional, like we as a company or me as a brand are committed to sustainability and having a smaller carbon footprint. Connection is more bidirectional. This is where that relationship stuff we talked about comes into play. This is where, you're a name, not a number with us, or we care, we're really going to get to know you personally and help come up with a customized solution, that people stay with us for a long time. It's the claims related to how deep that connection is with your customers. And then the last category is this is the basic stuff. This is competence. So competence claims are like, we create results. We do what we say we're going to do. We show up when we say we're going to show up. We do, our product does what we say it does. So those are the 5 categories that most of the claims we make as a business come into: convenience, comparability, commitment, connection, and competence. Those are the 5 that most often your business is making a claim. It's in one of those 5 categories, and you're probably making claims in several of those categories.
Before we continue, I want to thank those who made this video possible, 42 Agency. Now, when you're in scale-up mode and you have KPIs to hit, the pressure is on to deliver demos and signups. And it's a lot to handle: demand gen, email sequences, RevOps, and even more. That's where 42 Agency, founded by my good friend Camille Rexton, can help you. They're a strategic partner that's helped B2B SaaS companies like ProfitWell, Teamworks, Sprout Social, and HubDoc build a predictable revenue engine. If you're looking for performance experts and creatives to solve your marketing problems at a fraction of the cost of in-house, look no further. Go to 42agency.com to talk to a strategist to learn how you can build a high-efficiency revenue engine now You can find that link in the description below. Let's jump back in. Now, that was my follow-up question. Like, a brand can have a combination of, they can even have all 5 of them at the same time, potentially.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is that most of us can make all of these claims. It's more just about figuring out which ones are most relevant for your business, most relevant to your audience, because like, I'll make an example. If you're trying to go get like a much needed medical procedure done, you're probably not super concerned about convenience. Like you're going to focus more on competence, right? And like the connection the doctor will have to you and maybe their outcomes compared to other doctors. But you might not be worried about like, well, how fast can you get me in and out of there? You know, like how easy is it to put on my surgery garments? You know, like that's not your top concern. But then you think about other purchases, you know, if you're looking for, I don't know, foil wrap for your food, like, do you care deeply about how connected they are to you as a company when they provide you tinfoil? Like, probably not. Then it's like, really, how affordable is it? And does it work better than the brand sitting next to it on the shelf? So you're probably making all kinds of claims, and it's just figuring out which ones are going to be most relevant for your situation.
That's true. What I heard there was like, what does your audience care most about? And I love that example where if I'm getting surgery, I don't want it to be like, oh, I'll do it in 30 seconds and then I come out like even worse.
Yeah, like the fastest, cheapest surgery.
That is the worst marketing for surgery, fastest and cheapest.
Yeah.
Probably the worst, come out even worse with that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all 5 of that. Now, part of the piece that you brought in the book is that there's 3 ways to bring evidence. The brands can bring evidence. How can brands like really prove, in what ways can they prove any of these claims that they have?
Yeah. So one thing you'll notice from my first book and from this one, I like a system, I like an acronym, and I like a list, right? Let's make it easy. Let's make it something you can keep track of. Because I think so much of what we do in marketing is very abstract, and it's always, it depends, and there's context. So trying to give us a guide of some kind is helpful. And kind of if we look at the content that works really well for proving out claims. So you have your list of claims. I know what we're saying. How do I make sure that I'm proving that, not just saying it, but actually, you know, proving it? That content tends to fall into one of 3 categories. So we see corroboration. So this is, again, coming back to our courtroom analogy here. You always want someone who can corroborate what someone is saying. They back it up. They sort of endorse it or agree with it. And that could be an expert, you know, an expert like a doctor or a researcher or some kind coming in and saying like, yep, that's true. That's exactly what it is. Or a witness, someone who has experienced it themselves, who says, yep, I was there and that's what happened. So we can do the same thing with our brand, bringing in quotes or interviews with experts, with witnesses like our customers or our employees, and having them kind of add to it. So that it's not just us as a brand saying like, trust us on this. We can say, you don't have to take our word for it. You can take their word for it, these experts and these witnesses. But, you know, you can also look toward other types of proof that work well too. And another one is demonstration. So demonstration is you don't have to take our word for it. You could see for yourself. So that's where we're going to sort of tell in-depth stories that help someone understand. Yeah. And then, or document it, you know, maybe show it in real time. If you're saying that your product works faster, like, show me the side by side. Let me see how, you know, this is, you know what, infomercials are really great at this, right? At the demonstration, they'll show you side by side, like, here's the 2 things. And like, look how much our product, before and after, or we got out all of these stains and the stains didn't come out of this other brand for our soap, you know? So it's a way for you to really bring the evidence that the audience can see and kind of make their own judgment. Again, in court, showing like, you see what would happen if we did a blood splatter like this, or like, look at the print that this shoe makes. They're showing you so you could see it yourself, right? And then the last category, so the third type of content that works really well, in addition to corroborating and demonstrating, is educational content. And the reality for educational content is understanding that for a lot of us, we're playing a little bit of like inside baseball. Like, we understand what we're talking about, but our audience may not. You know, it's difficult to explain to an audience member why, you know, the parts per million of a particular element in your ingredients is important if they don't understand the chemical makeup of our products and why that matters, right? So we need to kind of give them more information and teach them about it so that they can make a more educated, understanding and come to that decision of truth that like, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. So that's that reminder that sometimes before we can get to the corroboration and the demonstration, we need to preface that with some educational content to kind of get them up to speed.
I keep thinking about a courtroom again. All these things are so really well done. Um, all of them sound so. I've been thinking a lot about demonstration as well. How the whole product-led try before you buy kind of situation is really fitting into there. Where we're making these claims like try it, like
Yep.
prove it for yourselves to see
Exactly.
for yourselves. Really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
In terms of a brand that does any of this proving it really well, is there something that one that comes to mind? I know you brought up a ton of examples in the book and how they've proven their claims. Is there one that for you that really stands out as a brand that has done a good job of proving it?
Yeah, it's always tough to pick one because, like you said, I went sort of on
imagine.
I went like on a deep dive, and I feel like I got to know a lot of brands really well. But one that most folks can probably relate to most is Apple. So Apple does a really good job of particularly like demonstration. So when you see an Apple commercial and they say, they're not just saying our camera has 12 megapixels and that means that blah, blah, blah. They're showing you side by side, like here's a photo taken with ours and here's a photo taken with a different camera. Or look at how crisp this photo we took, taken with iPhone. They had that whole awesome campaign. It was billboards and other large format ads that were photos taken on an iPhone, like not retouched, not anything, just your iPhone can take photos that are this good, right? So really demonstrating, showing like this is exactly, what you're going to get with us, a real like see for yourself kind of thing. But they've also done a good job of education. So those of us who have been around for a while will remember the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC series of commercials, nice. Right? From like the early 2000s, late 90s, I think, where they really were doing a lot of education. It was joking that we had one character representing Macs and one character representing PCs, and they sort of had this playful banter. But through that process, they were bantering about things like virus detection and, compatibility and, storage and things like that. So they were teaching us, but through entertainment as well, to help us understand, okay, it sounds like if I get a Mac instead of a PC, I don't have to worry as much about viruses and malware because they, protect better against that. So again, educating, not just saying like, hey, ours is safer, but like really going in detail and saying, here's why it's safer, here's what that means and why it's important.
It's fascinating. There was also, I remember an ad they did, a video ad, where it was all shot in iPhone, where like, oh, wow, this looks like a professional video. You're right. They're doing like a good job of like showing off like, oh, this is a professional quality video camera on a phone.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, they use a lot of the other types of evidence too as well, and they're proving different types of claims. I think the camera ones, I think, are most visceral because it's really the actual, like, see it with your own eyes, right? It's really that documentation that we're talking about. And it can be really powerful. They always say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if they're coming out with a visual campaign like that, it certainly can go a long way toward helping you understand the value of that device you're about to purchase.
That's so true. And I think that as another important point is like, it's good to use all three of this evidence types at the same time. I think that kind of builds a better case. Like you're trying to prove. I'm watching a lot of murder dramas right now, so like it's trying to prove that it's true. Like your core is right. Is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, again, I think it's familiar to most of us. So it's easy to think about, we've all seen the episode of the court drama where there's only one witness and it's he said, she said. So we got to bring in other types of evidence or, okay, well, you're telling a story, but, anyone could say that. Let me see it. Show me the map. Show me the photos of the scene, right? Where we can kind of understand how one single type of evidence or one single piece, like maybe one article or one blog post, one photo from Apple may not be enough to help them understand, to get them all the way to trusting. So this whole prove it process is less about making one specific type of claim and proving it with one specific type of evidence, and really more about thinking about all the content and all the communication you do through this lens of like, am I proving it? And if I'm proving it, what type of claim am I proving? Or what claim are we making here? And how could we prove it? So it's really more of a mindset shift to say every single day that we wake up and we sit down at our desks as marketers, we're sitting down in the courtroom and it's our job to prove to our audience that we are who we say we are and we do what we say we do.
I love that. That's really great summary of that segment of this. I want to shift gears now and talk about careers. You've been in marketing for a decade. You were one of the first editor of content brand at New York Times. Yeah, New York Times, and now you're a co-founder at a startup, The Convoy, and VP of marketing there. Long career. What's really helped you accelerate your career? What's a power up in your career that's helped you? Whether it's meeting the right people or finding the right thing. What's a career power up for you that's helped you?
I don't know if this quite is the answer that you're looking for, but for me, I think it's all about curiosity. Like a good amount of the jobs that I've taken or the projects I've worked on, I wasn't actually positive in the beginning that I could do it or that I knew enough to do it, but I understood that I'm curious enough to learn what I need to learn. So, working with the Convoy, for example, we're building technology that helps small businesses save money on their business expenses. I don't have a technology background, and I am a small business, but I've never created, technology for small businesses. But I know that I could talk to enough customers to understand their needs that it would fill those gaps for me. And when I look back to like major transitions, major projects, major things that I've worked on, it's always that same mindset of like, okay, I acknowledge that there are some gaps here, but I know that I am curious enough to seek out the information to fill those gaps. And I think that's really, for me, I think that's like a cheat code, right? Because if you're only going for the things that you're 100% ready for, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. And if you know yourself and you know your dedication enough to know that I'll take a class on Skillshare, I'll watch 40 hours of YouTube videos, I'll read every tutorial, like I'll learn. I can learn how to fill those gaps. It allows you to kind of level up in a different way.
That's so good. I mean, you can tie it back to the courtroom where if you're a detective,
there you go.
That's a good job, right?
Yeah, I like it.
It's so good. It fits right in. One other question I love asking is around an advice you'd give your younger self. Like if you can travel back in time to Melanie, who's just starting out in marketing and journalism, what advice would you give that younger version of Melanie?
So I've got two, I think. One would be dress how you want to dress. And I know that sounds really simple, but I think for me, especially when I was moving from journalism into business, I had this like idea in my head of like what a business person wears and like looks like, you know what I mean? Like right. I was like, oh, I got to get blazers. I got to wear high heels. I got to be like I need a briefcase. Like, and I think I look back and I'm like, I think I was cosplaying as like an adult business person, like it looked fine at the time. I'm sure it was fine, but I wish that I had more confidence to just come in the way that I was and kind of own, my own style, my own identity with confidence rather than feeling like I kind of have to like dress up as what people expect. Because the reality is, as a 20-something female in a lot of those rooms, I was going to be out of place no matter what. I was going to walk into a room with a bunch of 50-year-old white dudes. Like that was just the reality. So I might as well have just owned it instead of trying to, dress up like something I was never going to be, And the other one is related, but charge more. Whatever you think you're worth more. And it comes from, again, a place of like imposter syndrome or insecurity or feeling like you're new and like, who am I to do this? Like you're missing out. By not asking. You can only get what you ask for.
So good. I like that whole cosplay. I'm not thinking about like a Comic-Con.
That's how I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? Like, just like, I don't know, shoulder pads. Like, oh man, it was not good.
Yeah, no, I remember I would like come into the office with a tie. Like,
yeah.
I think the other thing with charging more, I don't know, maybe I keep tying it back to this courtroom, is like if you provide more evidence, you probably can charge more. I think the more that you build up like corroboration and demonstration and all the evidence, like you really have you should be charging more as you provide more evidence. It really ties back to that
100%. And I think that's probably a big part of, especially when folks are starting out, they feel like, well, I don't have the big brand names on my website. I don't have 25 testimonials. They may not feel like you have enough of that evidence yet. And so looking for whatever type of evidence you can provide, like you do this work because you're good at it is the assumption, right? So who have you provided work for? Even if it's not a client, do you have a coworker who can attest, a former boss who can leave a testimonial of how great your copy is or how creative your ideas are? Like, find those ways that you can bring the evidence into it, because you just have to do it a little unconventionally until you're able to get those more like conventional testimonials, the big brand logos and things,
Makes sense. I think the other thing to proving it, especially when it comes to imposter syndrome, I ask a few folks, especially in marketing around this, is sometimes we have to prove it to ourselves too. Like it's more like a confidence issue where having like a win folder or a celebration box with all the things that people have told about you kind of builds up that confidence to charge more and to take more risk and to step forward rather than staying where you're at.
100%. Yeah, I've done, and I think this particularly affects like young people who are entering a field, people who are maybe later in their careers and transitioning industries, women and people of color who are often, underestimated and undervalued in these different spaces. It can be really helpful to have some sort of reminder, like, come back to the proof, like, where's the documentation? Print out the really complimentary email. This sounds silly. I have behind me on my desk, if anyone's just listening, I have several awards over here that are just here. Yes. Now, they're from a long time ago, but those are my reminder when I sit down at this desk that I'm good at what I do and that I can provide value to my customers, right? And I have that visual reminder, like, don't underestimate yourself. Like, look, you've done good things. So like, hang the badge from the conference that you went to, print out the complimentary email, put a Post-it note with the name of every person who's supported you and rooted for you. Give yourself that visual reminder, because sometimes we forget that we've got evidence, of our own awesomeness.
That's so good. I was talking to Jake House around this. Like his career power up is around belief, like believing yourself and believing in others. I think having all those like awards up on the wall and printed emails, like kind of makes, once again, prove. I keep going back to proving it.
Prove it.
But proving it to yourself. You're proving it to yourself. You're proving it to others. Really
absolutely. Yeah. I think if you can be your own, you're the first judge, I guess, if we're bringing it back, right? You're the first judge that you have to win over. But that is really a power up, right? If you can just believe in yourself and understand that the proof that you're looking for of your own greatness may not be the traditional things. Like, you don't have to have a diploma hanging on the wall. You don't have to have a trophy or an award. Like, it could be, like we said, those awesome emails that you get from clients who are happy with your work. It could be the endorsement on LinkedIn from someone that you really respect. It could be the letter of recommendation that someone wrote for you 10 years ago that, makes you feel really proud of the impression you made. Like, whatever it is, there are people rooting for you that can remind you of your own awesomeness as you're going into whatever challenge is next.
This brings up this point that this book can be applied to people as a career. Like, if you see yourself as a brand, as a personal brand, you can get your claim types and get all those evidence, and now you can ask for that raise.
Yeah,
get a job you want. Hell, like get a client and charge more. I think that's a really takeaway from this. Is this book can be applied to their own careers. It's
100%. And if you think about, like, if you and I are both going in to ask for a raise and I come in and just say, hello, I would like more money, please. And you come in and you say, here's my last 3, reviews that I had. They're all positive. They're all 4.5 out of 5 or above. Here's this like awesome, remember when I saved this account and I, had this great client, relationship, and you bring that evidence. It's a lot harder to say no to you because you've brought the proof. Like, I deserve this raise and here's all the evidence, put forth. Somebody who's just rolling in like, hello, I would like more money. Like, that's much easier to dismiss because why on earth do I need more? I think it's, you can use this in your personal life, to kind of earn trust back from people you may have disappointed or something, to like reconnect old relationships where, you need to kind of prove that you can be valuable to their life and vice versa. You could do this, to get the house that you want, to get the job that you want. It's really something that kind of taps into our deep subconscious about trust and who we can open up to.
Hope you found this conversation as insightful as I did. I love how Melanie used her background in journalism to help marketers build trust with people and prove the claims they're making. If Find out more about Melanie's book, Prove It, by going to peoplewhoproveit.com and follow Melanie on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can find all of those links in the show notes and description. Thanks to Melanie for being on the show. If you enjoyed this episode, you'd love the Marketing Powerups newsletter. I share the actionable takeaways and break down the frameworks of world-class marketers. You can go to marketingpowerups.com to subscribe, and you'll instantly unlock the 3 best frameworks that top marketers use to hit their KPIs consistently and wow their colleagues. I want to say thank you to you for listening, and please like and follow Marketing Powerups on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you're feeling extra generous, kindly leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a comment on YouTube. It goes a long way in others finding out about Marketing Powerups. Thanks to Mary Sullivan for creating the artwork and design, and thank you to Faisal Taigo for editing the intro video. And of course, thank you for listening. That's all for now. Have a powered up day.
Marketing Power-Ups. Until the next episode,